Just a warning, folks. This video is going to be of a very adult nature. We're going to talk about suicide and mental health, and there may well be swearing in this video too. So I just wanted to make you aware at the start. Where do we start? So I wanted to make this video to help people. So I wanted to make this video to share stats and information. No, this is just fucking bollocks. Why am I making the video, you fucking tosser? I can't say the words because I don't feel confident in saying the words, because I don't think anyone gives a fuck. And that's the problem with social media. It's fucked me up. So the very thing I want to talk about, I can't talk about because it's fucked me up. And I want to make a video about how it's fucked me up, but I can't make a video about how it's fucked me up because it's fucked me up. So I made this video to try and help people that are struggling with social media. Mental health and social media go really hand in hand. The overwhelming pressure placed on us by social media and how that affects people in their daily lives, and in my daily life, has basically for many months now been a point of me trying to research and make lots of notes about these effects, and to look back in history to understand why all of a sudden everyone's talking about mental health, where perhaps just a few generations ago no one was really talking about mental health. So here goes. I'm going to try and place this in some sort of facts and figures as well, break it down a little bit, just so that it helps me get the information across, and hopefully it helps you better understand what's been going on, and how quickly and badly things are changing for us. If I go back sort of 50,000 years, which was the point in time when everyone started to communicate, and that could be from making symbols, it could be making noises, but around about 50,000 years ago, humans had the ability to communicate. 457 years ago, that communication was, well, it started off as a newspaper. So all of a sudden, your little, community, your tribe that knew what was going on possibly about the next community or the next tribe, suddenly, well, for those who were educated enough to read the newspaper anyway, they suddenly had the ability to find out what was going on all the way around the world. So for the very first time we started to be able to communicate with each other, to the internet starting, and then we think about how much communication we now do through the internet, and yet that's only 0.076% of the time that we have been able to communicate. So since we were able to find out what was going on around our community or just outside our community, to now having the thoughts of possibly 8 billion people knowing what was going on maybe in our lives, or at least having their opinions and their stresses and everything else being broadcast around the internet, it's not even 1%. It's not even half of 1%. So in, some people say, the blink of an eye, things change. In a fraction of a blink of an eye, you and I have gone from the ability just to chat with maybe 20 people, maybe 50 people every month, to having maybe 50 or 100 people or 200 people every minute, every second maybe, but every minute. I certainly get hundreds of messages a day, and you put that across all the platforms, all the different types of social media, and that is more people in one day than potentially just going back 500 years to when the newspaper came out, that is potentially more people than you had in your life that you knew about, and that's just crazy. The way that I kind of thought about this is, imagine if you were locked in prison for 50 years in isolation in your own cell with no one to talk to, and then on the day you were released, everyone in a 200-mile area came to talk to you, tell them you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, or just telling you what they thought of what was going on in their life, or trying to just let you know what the weather is, or even let you know if it was busy down the road you're about to walk down. But all those people came to you straight away and instantly started talking to you. How would you feel? How would you cope with that? That is the difference that we're finding, and right now, there's very few options really to run away from that, which is what you'd want to do, really, wouldn't you? I mean, you would literally melt. I would anyway, having thousands of people talk to me, shout at me, whatever, ask questions of me, when I'd spent 50 years not talking or listening to a single person. And it's overwhelming. It's no wonder we can't cope. It's no wonder we're all struggling. And believe me, we are all struggling. At some point, we are all struggled. You hear the expression, that the grass is greener on the other side. You look on social media and everyone's having a great time. Well, yeah, that's the bit that they're sharing. And the grass that you can see, well, that needs nourishing. And it takes a lot of time and effort to nourish, just like it takes a lot of time and effort to succeed and to look like you're having a great time. But yeah, as a cautious bit of a tale, a lot of nourishment that goes into the ground to make things grow and look pretty is horseshit. So people are struggling, and people are taking a lot of shit for that. And at the time when they've taken all the shit and they've struggled and they just about break free, and it starts to look rosy and it starts to look nice, that's the time whatever, are seeing it, maybe for the first time, and thinking, look at that, instant overnight success. So to further break this down a little bit, to make you understand how fast things have changed, and to make you see that it isn't us that's the problem, it's generally the fact that we are in some sort of weird experiment right now. No one knows what's going on, no one seems to be in control, and unfortunately a lot of the people who are conducting this social experiment don't really seem to care the long-term effects it's having on us. So yeah, over 7,000 generations have lived being able to communicate with whatever form of communication, and yet it's probably been the last 2 generations that have had the internet and the ability to see what's going on, or the ability to be fed what's going on everywhere in the world. And this is the problem. The world that we grew up in, the ones that our parents and their parents and grandparents gradually kind of taught their young children how to behave, how to conduct themselves, how to have sort of integrity, morals, know right from wrong. Those were handed down generation to generation. The problem is, right now in this world, everyone has an opinion of what you should be doing and how you should raise your child, and what you should do as a parent, or even what you should do as a grandparent. So it's difficult to understand how to raise a generation when you've no longer just got parents or grandparents as examples to set for how you should raise your children, or how you should behave as a parent. Because everyone's telling you that everything that happened in the past is wrong, and sadly, the ability to be truthful about something, the ability to have morals, to know right from wrong, seem to now be replaced with the strange new crazes of just spreading information, whether it's factual or not, in the hope that that brings you fame. And the lesson that sadly people are learning right now is the way to achieve that as fast as possible is by the use of drama. And this is where we start to talk about technology and why I think personally it's technology that's failing and the people that are writing this technology for social media platforms. And that is the way that they write the platform. These platforms have shareholders. Obviously, it costs a heck of a lot of money to run these social media platforms. I understand that. I used to be on the other side of it. I used to not only buy the advertising space, but yeah, buy all the servers and the rack spaces and the data and all that kind of stuff. So I know how much money goes into all this. So I understand, therefore, about the need to pay for yourself in this kind of technology era. Don't forget what happened in 2000 and bubble burst because no one thought about actually paying for it. They all thought about, oh, it'll just keep going or whatever. Shareholders will do it, but shareholders now want profits, and the way to deliver profits is to make money, make as much money as you can. And the way that social media does that best is to sell advertising space. So they needed to make advertising easy to drop into our feeds. And the way that's done is probably without any remorse whatsoever. But the way that's done is that the software delivers posts to you, or your feed is certainly crafted by the algorithm so that it's addictive, and you therefore keep wanting more. And this is where it gets really rough now, is the addictive nature of it makes us, well, I don't think it makes us, I think humans have a desire, and it's a freaking messed up one, but we have a desire for drama, and actually more specifically moral outrage. So if you are morally outraged and make a post, you will find that post is received and viewed far more than if you took a picture or made a post about a nice walk in nature and the beautiful views that you saw and the birds that you saw or whatever. Moral outrage, folks. That's what's addictive. So the social media platforms push moral outrage. So what we now call clickbait is exactly what it is. The only way to succeed, if you want to succeed, to get fame and fortune, is to follow what the algorithm is pushing with these posts that are morally outrageous, that you invoke an emotion in somebody to make them feel your outrage, or to make them, and this is the second flip side of it, or to make them be outraged at you because they are morally outraged at what you're doing. Essentially, it's the same thing. Whether you're morally outraged or whether they're morally outraged, the algorithm is basically pushing that content out more than anything else. And the downside of that is that if you're outraged, or if your morals are somewhat pushed in a direction that yes, you feel strongly about, that's a negative emotion, and that means that the algorithms are making us all slightly more negative. Our skew on the world is more negative. So we're more likely to push our opinion out there of what we think about other people and tell them what they're doing wrong. We're more likely not to care about how that is perceived by that other person too. And yeah, who's that helping? Well, it's not us, is it? It's just helping the algorithm. And who does the algorithm work for? Well, the algorithm works for the shareholders to make their money out of the adverts that pop in your feed. And yeah, I understand. Like I say, I mean, right now, I am sitting in a space and making a video that you all know is quite popular on social media. So I'm feeding that machine. I am feeding the algorithm, and therefore I am making the shareholders money. I know right off the bat how crazy that is, that I'm making a video complaining about these people, and yeah, I'm feeding the machine. Yeah, I get that. I also know as well that I used to be the person feeding the machine literally by selling the advertising space. So yeah, I understand the irony of this situation right now. And as one person here standing in front of my camera, can I change any of that? We're all, I don't know, again going back to what we're told is, can one person change anything? Well, maybe, when you do point out all the crap side of social media, maybe one aspect of that is that social media does give people a voice. It's how you hear that voice that is the bigger part of it, I guess. And therefore, one person does have the ability to change things positively. I am going to go down a positive route with this, because if you're listening to me and you're going to listen to what I've got to say coming up, hopefully that might make things better for you, might make you feel better. You might then make somebody else feel better. And ultimately, yes, social media can carry positive messages. And yes, one person can make a difference. So, yeah, I'm going to run through a few things that have helped me deal with social media. Obviously, I've shared bits of my life on here that have been quite raw, and yeah, it's difficult. And you might argue, why do you do it then? I know a lot of people in the comments have said, don't share your life if you don't want people's opinions cast over you. Yep, fair comment. And yeah, why do I do it? Well, I do it because and I don't do it, well, I wouldn't want to state out, I don't share everything with you, but I share the things that I feel are important. So yeah, obviously myself and my wife Mandy have had relationship problems. We now live in separate vans, but we are still happily married and we still travel together. So that was shared on the internet, and that was quite a stressful time, and a time when, it wasn't nice. Social media wasn't nice to us. The amount of people telling us, oh yeah, you should just get divorced, or kick Mandy into touch, or Mandy would get messages on her channel saying, yeah, kick him into touch, he's a loser and he's fat and whatever. And like I said, the unfortunate thing with clarity now is seeing that all these people with all these negative opinions, well, they're just reenacting the negativity that social media is pushing at them. Should you blame them for that? Can you blame them for that? Or should you look back and say, wow, you must be really, going through some tough stuff to have that sort of a negative outburst on people that are genuine. And if they can't see people that are genuine, obviously you've got bigger problems than if you can't actually see, you know, right from wrong, or if your morals are skewed that much that you need to go bash some genuine people, then your negativity levels must be way up here. So yeah, I shared a little bit of what was going on. And then, you know, as life does, while you're down, it loves to give you a good kick in too. So yeah, the second part of my breakdown, as we'll call it probably, was losing Coop, which even now, more than a year later, is difficult, really difficult. So yeah, I had quite a few points in my life over the last 12 months that I genuinely thought the world would be a better place without me. That I was consuming resources that somebody who was, you know, better than me could use up. And genuinely, on many occasions, thought about suicide. And yeah, I'm not alone. I'm not alone at all. A lot of people out there have you know, been stuck in that situation, and it's tough. I know I've made videos, and I know I've made comments about how it feels and the need to go and talk to people that you can see are struggling. But as a person struggling, you've got to remember that yeah, the person struggling has just, you know, so much fog up here. They can't see what they really need. Yeah, it's difficult. Every day is difficult just to get up and breathe. And the very worst thing for them is to want to talk about how they feel. So it took me a while to get to that point. It took me a long time. But I did. And I made a video about it because I wanted to share that. As the emotions were raw at the time, I thought it was best to share that, so that if other people were struggling, they could see, you know, there hopefully are ways out of it. That's it's a weird one. I might make a video about how to, you know, overcome a problem, technical problem, in a camper van or computer system, or, you know, whatever, because that has the ability to help other people. And just having the ability to help other people shouldn't be constrained to technical problems, or, you know, how to operate a phone or whatever, how to fast charge something in a van. If you know how to, or if you found a way that helped you overcome a problem in your life, doesn't matter whether it's technical or, you know, everyday getting up and breathing, then yeah, you should share that with people. And that's what I'm doing right now. Now, to drop some facts back into this conversation, just so that I'm not bawling my eyes out for another half an hour. I've actually done a lot of research about this, about the percentage of time, you know, that we've been able to communicate as to having the internet, the percentage of time that we've had a newspaper as opposed to the internet. And then this is also a bit of information that I think is quite a big chunk of responsibility on social media as well. And that is the suicide rates. So again, you know, you can find this information. It's online on the UK's government's website, mental health and health websites, and that'll share it. So for 3 decades before the internet and social media being prolific in the UK, suicide rates have been falling. Year on year, decade on decade, suicide rates have been falling. We as a society had found ways of helping people that were struggling. And then social media started. And suicide rates more than tripled in 5 years. So you've got 30 years of decline, and then in 5 years it just skyrocketed. And how are we coping with that? Who's responsible for that? What changes are needed to stop that? So I touched on this a few minutes ago, and oddly enough, we talk about advertising. You know, if you watch certain YouTube channels, you will know about companies out there through apps and whatever on the internet that offer counselling and therapy. And I went to one of them, not as a YouTuber, but as a person struggling. So I paid and tried to get help. And I felt like it was a positive step. I felt like, you know, that hopefully that person could help me, because I had an inability to honestly open up to other people. And in all fairness, the people I did talk to, I did feel like I didn't want to put all of the pressures of what was going on me onto them, because of their inability to help me. My circle is small. That's just who I am. I don't have a great number of friends, and therefore the ones that I could talk to quite openly and personally about things wasn't very big number of people. And yeah, it just wasn't an option to get help from them. They didn't have the skills that I needed, because they're going through their own stuff, which, you know, I did say that in a previous video. So by getting help from professionals, I felt that was my only chance. And I don't want to kind of particularly trigger anybody. There was a warning at the start of this video, so hopefully you heeded that. But yeah, I was well educated at the ways available to me, not to be here anymore, to take the suicide route. So this was my last resort. Getting help from professionals was my last resort. Paying for that help because I needed it right now. Literally, I needed it immediately. And the NHS and all that kind of stuff isn't really hooked up for that. And I'm not a believer in taking drugs to subdue my feelings, because that's not fixing a problem. So yeah, counselling, therapist, whatever you want to call it, seemed to me to be the way to get my feelings and what's in my brain and everything out there, and for someone then to come back and to digest that information and then help me. And this is when I found out that, sadly, therapy and counselling isn't for everyone. And I know that I am on the autistic scale of, neurodivergent, I think is the latest phrase for that. So it could well be that my brain doesn't accept the type of help that these professionals are trained to deliver. You might also argue that these professionals weren't trained to deliver the help that I needed. It flips both ways. The sad truth was, a couple of £100 down and a handful of therapists later, I worked out that wasn't for me. Talking about my problems didn't fix my problems. So yeah, that's my first thing, is if you are in that situation that you need help instantly, do reach out and see if you can get a professional to help you that are probably more likely to help you than just speaking to a relative or a friend. But also bear in mind that they may not be able to help you straight away, because the way that they work is that they want to get all the information from you, digest it, and then build on weeks of chatting with you and maybe talking about one thing for an hour every week isn't the best way to deal with mental health problems that are arising right now. Moreover, sort of social media related mental health problems. So you might be asking, what changed then? Why am I still here and why am I making this video? If you couldn't get help from your close circle of friends and family, and you couldn't get help from professionals, what changed? And to be truthful, what changed was a little switch up here that realized that no one was going to help me. And I know that's quite a negative thing. I get that. So from a negative, I turned it into a positive. And it's probably, again, my stupid, brain. But as an engineer, I constantly see problems that need to be fixed. And I had tried to fix these problems myself, but I don't think I'd given it the gravity, the weight it needed to actually go through and do this. So, yeah. I broke down, not in that way, but I've broken down already, but I split into tasks as an engineer would of what the problem was, and simple steps to achieve that, fix it essentially. And this is what worked for me, and this is why you've just watched 20 minutes of video to get to this point. The first thing you do is isolate yourself, and there's no other way of telling you how to do that. I isolated myself. I literally drove in the middle of nowhere, went to the shop, stopped the van, and I had 2 weeks of isolation. And that's the first thing I did. I didn't take phone calls. I didn't speak to other people. I went out, rode my bike, did whatever, but I isolated myself from everyone around me. And then the second part about this is I also isolated myself from social media as much as I could as a YouTube creator. But that's why, again, you've seen lots of bike review videos, power pack videos and things like that was because no way was I going to make a video of what was going on in my life at the time. Number one, it would be boring as hell because I was isolated, wasn't doing anything. But number two, I wouldn't have been as clear as this, as clear as I am now, talking about what was going on. By isolating yourself, it gives you the mental capacity and a tiny little bit of clarity to deal with what's coming. For me personally anyway, I keep saying you should do this and you should do that. This is what worked for me, so hopefully it'll work for you, but I wanted to share it. The downside of doing this is that you'll still need that fix, the dopamine fix that has been crafted into our lives through social media, is a real one, and you will need something to do. So if you like reading books, get 50 books, immerse yourself in books for a couple of weeks. I don't read. I don't read books. I don't read Kindles. I'm a movie kind of person. So I watch movies and I watch comedies. I figured I needed something to do, and I also started to see this negative fog that was just filling my life through real crappy things that had happened, and also my inability to connect with social media and see it just as things, rather than being rather than seeing it as, oh, I'm not as good as that person, oh, they're getting loads more views on the videos, or they're having a great time over there in Spain and I can't go to Spain because my Schengen days, and blah, 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 blah. I was just seeing everything as negative. So I watched films to take my space up, and I watched comedies to lighten my mood. And it worked. I also went on a lot of bike rides, which the physical exercise helped as well. And I also started to listen to music. The weird thing about making YouTube videos is that you are constantly aware of things that are happening, and the ability to quickly record things that are happening sadly means that you can't listen to music, because if there's music going on in the background and that makes it into a video, you'll get a copyright strike, which means that your video could be taken down, or at least anyway that it'll be restricted in terms of who will be shown that video. So for the longest time I don't really listen to music, and yeah, who doesn't like music? I mean, I listen to so many different types of music, different genres, different bands, and I've not listened to them for a long time because of what I've just said. So listening to music took me back a little bit, the reminiscing over past times or whatever, or just listening to music and just feeling better, or it just being the only feeling is listening to the music. It took probably about a week before the cycling, the comedy movies and the music really started to lift my mood, enough that I could eat. I'd brought all this food and everything, but I wasn't eating more than like a couple of bits of snacks or whatever, which again is bad for your mental health, not eating properly, because your body's suffering and it's not getting the right kind of foods, nutrients or whatever. So yeah, eating is also a big part of that. So as I started to feel that my mind was a little bit clearer, like the negative fog was not there all the time, and I crucially wasn't having suicidal thoughts several times a day, I then went back to engineering mode and went to the next sort of stage of how to fix myself, which was, oddly enough, how to get my dopamine fix, because you need a dopamine fix. Not being funny, but everyone needs positivity in the life, and that comes from doing good things, or even achieving things that you feel good about, or whatever. You don't have to be seen to be praised by other people for doing good things, but just doing something yourself that you see as a good thing can be enough. Just a tiny little bit of that fix. Not only does this balance out your need for bigger fixes all the time, so that you're then only seeking little fixes of dopamine, but yeah, it breaks you out of that rhythm as well. So I started to make lists of things that needed to be done, or that I needed to do every day. And to start off with, I would put one thing a day on my list, and I would absolutely make sure that I could easily do it. I know it sounds stupid. There are many hours in every day, so why just have one task in a day? Put 10 in or something like that, especially because you're isolated, you're not doing anything else. But that's not the point. Don't overwhelm yourself. Give yourself one task that you can easily do in a day, and then after 3 or 4 days of ticking those tasks off one by one each day, you wouldn't believe how much that can lift your mood. Not only for the fact that you're getting things done that need doing, could be anything, even just making a nice meal, with different sort of things rather than just a cheese toastie or a packet of crisps or something like that. But yeah, having a good meal. It could be, going for a good walk or a good bit of cycling or whatever, but start to make a list and tick them off. And then if you're feeling a bit more confident, put 2 things on your list, not loads, put 2 things on, and then wait a week of being able to do 2 things every day. And like I say, these are easily achievable items. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't ever give yourself the opportunity of not doing it, because then if you've not done it, then you'll start to break down again. It's a negative thing. So yeah, just simple lists with simple tasks that you can complete every day, one of those tasks, and you will start to feel better. You will get that dopamine fix, that little bit of, I've done that today. Oh yeah, tick that off my list. You'll recognize what this is all doing and what it's achieving, and start to see patterns that are positive. And then I wanted to start reintroducing the real world, because the little bubble I created for myself wasn't sustainable. Sadly, in this day and age, you can't isolate yourself from people, and it's very difficult to be, on social media and isolate yourself from social media at the same time. So I went back into sort of like, my normal little circle of friends and family, and started just doing everyday things, traveling around again, going out, having meals, seeing people, and I found that I was more able to cope with that. And like I say, then I reintroduced myself to social media, which I found I'd got a new frame of mind. Bear in mind, I'm keeping up all these other things, so I've not stopped them. It's not like, oh yeah, that fixed it, I've not stopped it. So I'm watching movies, I'm watching comedies predominantly. I'm giving myself the tasks that I'm completing. I'm going out on my bike. I've got a positive, or a more positive, frame of mind. So I found that I was dealing with the comments and the opinions of other people in a different way. I found that people weren't offending me anymore. And this is something that is like a big light bulb moment for me is it's me that's offended by what they've said. So it's only my view of what other people say and do that is offended, just like they might be offended by what I said and did, and have got to tell me how they were offended and call me names or have a go, whatever. But it's our state of mind that controls if we're offended or not, and how much we're offended, and then ultimately what we do afterwards. Do we tell that person, and do we tell them in a fairly calm way, or do we really tell them? Are we really telling them how offended we were? And who does that help? Does it help them feel better? No, never does. If you're wound up that much that you're telling somebody in an angry state of how much they offended you, they don't get anything out of it. It didn't help them one little bit. It might not help you receiving it, but then that's you and how you feel about what they've said. And this is the next phase. And this is a big mind-blowing moment. If you can be positive in your mindset, you won't be offended anywhere near as much by what other people say and do. And that will help you in everyday life, because you can just choose to listen to people clearly with an open mind of going, well, let's just look through the tone of what they said to the information of what they said. Is that anything I need to worry about? And then with that clarity, because you're not in that negative emotional feeling, but with the clarity you go, oh yeah, actually, fair comment. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said this or shouldn't have done that. Even though they were offended by it, but as a good human being with good morals, you don't always want to offend people. So you've taken the positivity from that feedback and then taken it to heart and gone, right, okay then, fair enough. I understand what you're saying. I won't do that again. But the other side of it is, with the same clarity, allows you, with the same degree of processing of that information, that feedback, to then say, no, I don't really respect you. What you're saying's absolute rubbish. And yeah, I'm just going to ignore it. And then move on. Instantly move on. That's it. Done with. And that is an amazing thing for me personally. That has been very, very, very different for my mindset, and probably for about maybe 4 or 5 years I've been in a negative fog about receiving feedback. So I can't blame van life for it, because 5 years ago, whatever, I was still living in a house. But obviously there were things going on in my mind then that I'd not even been aware of that were, making me feel negative. And yeah, I was one of the first adopters of social media. I helped build platforms to host social media systems. I have helped build networks, fiber optic networks up and down the country to facilitate the communications systems for social media. And in doing so, it means that I've been absorbing social media right from the outset. I potentially have been inside social media for longer than most people, and therefore its effects have affected me far worse and for far longer than most people. And yeah, that's a tough one, because that's my job. I mean, it's not now. tiny little bit of my actual job now is social media based, but it's not the same way it was. So yeah, part of my realization was that potentially I need to change my career. So what this has actually taught me, and this might seem a bit callous, it's not meant that way, but it's just helped me to deal with it. But it's to stop caring about other people that are not directly involved in my life. So stop caring about what you see online. Is somebody having a great time on a holiday that you're kind of bothered by? Is somebody driving a car that you can't drive? Does somebody have more money that you don't have? Is the grass greener on the other side of the fence and you can't make your grass that green? Who cares? Honestly, who cares? Shut your eyes and it's all gone. It's not in your mind, and this is why I'm talking about the other thing, the negative emotions and the mind fog. You can work on that, but shut your eyes to it, clear that out, and then carry on. And the moment you see any of that starting to bother you again, so the moment you go back on social media and you're scrolling through and you're like, everything's always happy for them, they're always putting up these quick little posts and they're always great and everything's always giddy and laughing and blah blah blah, and life isn't just that happy, or they're always on holiday, or they've always got loads of money. You need to come off social media. You need to go through that cycle again that I've just explained, about isolation and then getting the positive emotions back, giving yourself the opportunity to feed your dopamine with things that you can control to get your mind out of that negative state, because you shouldn't care about what other people think. That shouldn't be your primary thing in life, just to go around thinking and judging what other people are doing. It's not what we're here for, but social media forces us to do that. It really does. One thing that might make this seem a little bit clearer or whatever, but back in the day, I had a school bully, or 2 or 3 maybe, and I'm kind of comparing this to social media and the bullies on social media, but bullies in real life are different because they can physically hurt you. Bullies online, like I said, they're just people in a negative state of mind. They don't even see how bad their state of mind is. So yeah, ruling that out, bullies at school used to, physically and verbally abuse me and other kids. But I found easy ways to deal with that. One was, where they are, what they look like, avoid them. The second one was fight back. Did that once. That was quite an achievement for my mental health at the time, even though mental health wasn't spoken about. But anyway, they stopped bullying me, and the other ones I was able to avoid. We need to find a modern way to deal with social media that way. You come in your home at night and there's weird things going on outside, there's weird people knocking around. You will, lock up your car, lock up all your safety belongings, make sure all your family and friends are all safe, like close the door behind you, lock it. You might put alarms on your property, CCTV, these possessions that we've got, and the people around us, we want to make sure they're safe and secure. But when it comes to your mind and social media, there's no real way to do that other than switch it off, put it away, maybe get a timed safe for your phone and put it in there, and then it only gives you back in 6 hours time. Just make sure that you put it in there the next time to give yourself that break. But what I'm saying is that I think the online world is far more dangerous than the real world. If you look at serious crimes, the reporting and so on of serious crimes is way down, has been coming down, you know, year on year globally in comparison to crimes on the internet, like I say, suicide rates, that kind of stuff. So in my view, the internet really needs to be more responsible for our state of minds, and we need to be the people that are at the forefront of taking on that responsibility, because shareholders and companies want money. They're very, 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 very unlikely to withgo money and replace that with morals, from my experience anyway. I know I've touched on this already, but I do want to stress as well that I'm not bashing social media for just being negative. There are positives out there as well, and one positive, like I said, is the ability to share things, share information that help other people. So in the true spirit of the internet, I want to say how much you guys have helped me. And I don't mean like supporting things I've done, you know, for charity work or anything like that. I mean the lovely comments that I get on videos, the comments that I've had about mental health issues and things like that, that my videos have helped other people. And that is why I think it's still worth this connection, social media, and why I'm making this video, to hopefully help others struggling with social media to see that there is a different way of coping with it. Maybe it's something we should all be doing. Maybe, you know, only spend 15 minutes a day scrolling through Instagram. I don't know. Something that helps us all stop getting our fixes from our screens, and stops this negativity, these blinking social media algorithms that just want to push disaster at us, negativity, you know, real kind of like pulling on our heartstrings of emotions all the time in order to keep feeding us the same sort of post, to keep us in front of the screen all the time, and yeah, to drop adverts in to sell their advertising. So I do want to say a big thank you, and I'm still here because you're still here, and that's quite a big thing. And on top of that, because I want to make this video one of those videos that does help as many people as possible, I'd like you to share the video. If you think you know somebody or a group of people that would benefit from hearing what I'm saying, just to know that they're not on their own, or even taking the things that have worked for me, you know, and trying them out, and if that helps. So yeah, in the spirit of making the internet be a positive place, please share this video if you think it needs to be shared, if you know somebody that it'd help. It's a big video, folks, and it's taken a while to understand if I was going to make it. So yeah. But I feel like I am in a much better place, and have a much better outlook on life. And I also want to say, getting upset again, that I haven't thought about suicide in a couple of months now. So yeah, that's good. This is a positive emotion, folks. I'm not sad. But yeah, it's good. Right, I'll see you on the next video, folks. You take care, and thank you so much for watching. See you later. Bye.